Pool handicapping. It's been in the game of pool from the very beginning, whether it be leagues, whether it be tournaments, whether it be two individuals in a pool hall in a money game and one of them asking for balls or games in a spot in a race. But what this video is going to be is we're going to take a look at some of the most subjective examples in my hometown of what a handicapping system is. We're going to move on up and then we're going to end to what is probably the most measured system and most systematic system that's handicapping players today, which is the Fargo system. But most importantly, we're going to take a look at the winners and the losers of pool handicapping. And I think you might be surprised at what we find out. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. And as always, if you haven't hit subscribe yet, please do. That means a lot to the channel and it tells YouTube that you value what I do. So let's talk handicaps. Okay, let's go to the one side of the spectrum and talk about subjective handicapping. So for this, I got a real world example. In my city, we have a league called Triple E Pool League. And what they have is an open players list. So no one really knows what the criteria is to make it onto that list. I myself made it onto that list and I wasn't told. I was just all of a sudden, one year, I was on it. So what I think happens is the board of directors, and they're all elected board of directors by the people that play in the league, they get into the room at the end of the year and they just discuss what happened that year. And it's a matter of opinion. And I think they ask themselves, are there any names that we need to add to our list? And what happens is all of a sudden a person's on the list. I'm on that list. All my friends that were on my team are on that list. And what that basically means is we're not allowed to play in that league anymore, right? It's gotten to the point where they just don't allow open players to play in that league. And I'm not calling this league out because it's one of my favorite leagues that I've ever played. I love Triple E. I played it for years. I wish I could play it again, but I'm on their list. So we're going to talk about this a little bit later on what this has done. But it is purely subjective. It's a person's opinion. Yes, they can look at some of a person's stats that got them there. Maybe they're even looking at other leagues, how this person performed, where it's more quantifiable. They'd never admit that, but maybe they're doing that. But no one really knows. It's a matter of opinion. It's subjective. Now let's move up that spectrum to the center, where we've got kind of a hybrid going on with Walmack Amusements. So that's another pool league that's in my city. So we play, it is a VNEA/BCA sanctioned league where you play all year and you can win a trip to Vegas. Now, when I first started playing that league, there were no divisions that were higher than others. It was just one regular division. And the city was chopped up into areas and we played against each other. And there was just handicapping system like balls, right? You'd have your average, you'd add up all your averages, you minus them, and whatever the difference was, you were spotting that other team that many balls per round. But what Walmack soon realized was that they had to start advancing people to grow the league. Now this goes to handicapping, we're going to talk more about this later, but what ended up happening is all of a sudden you had a Super Vegas, a Premier, a Super Premier, an Open. Just an Open was supposed to be the top. I mean, the division was called Open. Anybody can play. But now they've actually created an elite division just a few years ago. So that's a whole other topic in this city because a lot of people have some strong feelings on that. But that being said, Walmack was forced to do that because they were losing people. People were getting tired of losing to the top tier individuals. So they had to expand it. They had to grow it this way. And what that's done is it's actually grown the league to a great degree. We're going to be talking more about that later. So what made you go up was winning that trip. So that's a quantifiable way. That's a quantifiable way to handicap a person, right? So now an open player can't play in Super Vegas anymore. So that's the handicap, right? It is quantifiable, but it is a little subjective in that, what if you play on a 5-man team and you're the weak link, right? What if the 3 or 4 individuals carried you over that finish line and you got to go to Vegas? So now you're up in the next division, but you just don't deserve to be there. Or maybe you don't want to be there, but you're forced to be there at this point. So that's something to think about. It's not a perfect system. And now we're going to finish by going all the way to the other end of the spectrum, completely opposite of being subjective. Now it's completely measured and completely quantifiable in the Fargo rating system. So I'm not going to go in depth on how it's calculated. I'm going to leave some links in the description if you want to learn about that system. But a quick overview is you play so many matches with Fargo rated players, you get a number yourself, and from there, whenever you go into a tournament, if it's a Fargo tournament, you take your Fargo rating, the tournament director takes your opponent's Fargo rating, they minus them, and however they want to handicap in that, and they can be aggressive or they don't have to be that aggressive. Most of the time, tournament directors just want to be fair, and they just tell you, okay, you're going to 6 and you're going to 3 or whatever, right? So that is a very quantifiable and methodical handicapping system. So it's probably the best thing going on out there. But here's the meat and potatoes of this video, okay? Handicapping is here to stay, but let's talk about the winners and let's talk about the losers. So the big winners are the pool halls. And this is important because let's use Edmonton as an example. If I look and think back to the day, I mean, there was 5, 6, 7 pool halls open in our city at all times, right? We had so many options to play pool. Do you know how many pool halls are left in Edmonton right now? 2. That is so scary to me. We're down to 2 real pool halls. I'm not talking about bars with their bar boxes. I'm talking about real pool halls that have 4.5 by 9s, 4 by 8s, that sort of thing, snooker tables, right? 2 pool halls. So we have to grow our game. And you saw in my other examples with Triple E and with Walmac that those leagues, they grew because of handicapping. So Fargo, that's what makes Fargo such a great thing for pool halls, is that's going to help grow their business, their clientele. They're going to have people come off the streets. They're going to see that a tournament's happening. These people are going to go into that tournament and they're going to get a proper Fargo rating and they're going to get a spot in that tournament. And, you know, they're going to have a shot of taking down some really good players. It's going to make them feel good and it's going to help grow the game. That person might come back the next week and play the tournament because they had such a good experience. They're not going to have such a great experience if they get smoked 9-0, right? Okay, so some people might say that the players that aren't as good are winners as well with a handicapping system. And to that I say, maybe. It depends on the type of person you are. And this is important. This is the meat and potatoes of this video. And the main point that I want to get across to you is that it all depends on you. So I'll tell you a story. Years ago, I walked into one of the most legendary bars in the history of our city, the Purple Onion, on a Sunday night. They used to have a bar tournament there. So my friend and I, who are pool players, walked in with my other friend, Kevin, and he's not a pool player, but he decided to hang outside and have a smoke before he came in. So we went in and we signed into the tournament. Kevin, while he was outside, overheard 2 guys out there who were smoking saying, well, if those 2 guys are playing, I'm not playing. So he came in and he told us that, and sure enough, we watched those guys come into the bar, go to the tournament director and ask, did they sign up? He said yes, and they didn't enter the tournament. And that's the wrong attitude. It's my strongest opinion that you need to get your butt kicked sometimes, right? When I was young, I got my butt kicked, right? I was a good player, but there's some amazing pool players out there that have been playing for a lot longer than you have, and they're gonna beat you. But that has to be a lesson. A great example of not having a handicap is the time when I was in my early 20s, I entered the Alberta 9-ball championships. So my very first match, I played a player who was definitely more highly regarded than I was because he had done a whole lot more. He had been around a whole lot longer, right? I was just a young guy and he smoked me 9-0. And, you know, what I want to say is he's not 9-0 better than me. He wasn't that much better than me, but I did it to myself. My mental game betrayed me. I wasn't ready to take him on, right? And it was one of those snowballs going down the hill, getting bigger and bigger. It was a disaster, right? But that lesson I learned, it's still with me today. It's why I make videos about the mental game, right? It's so important, right? And what if those guys at the Purple Onion who didn't even enter the tournament, who didn't even have an experience like what I had, what if they would have learned something losing to my friend or me? What if they would have learned that important lesson? They've robbed themselves of that. I guess rambling on and telling you those two stories, my main point, the lowest common denominator, what I'm trying to tell you here is a handicapping system is available now, but don't be content with that handicapping system because you're not going to be a winner, right? If you have a desire to get better in this game, do not be content, right? Use that system, use the information that's been given to you if you win or if you lose, right? To understand where you're at and watch these players, right? Because here is the thing that is completely unintended with a handicapping system. And that is this. Some people might say that the really good pool players are the losers in a handicapping system. I say no. And that might surprise you, but this is the reason why. Really good pool players are really good for a reason. They have drive, they have initiative, they practice. The mental game and on the table, right? They have the desire. So now they have somebody who's ranked lower than them in their Fargo, and they're really going to have to bear down to win that match, right? So this becomes an exercise for them, right? This becomes a way of actually honing their skills even more. So the unintended effect of a handicapping system is just this, that the really good players probably get even better. So if you're a player that's getting spotted, don't be content with a handicap. Don't say, well, I'm good with this, I got a chance every night, and then not practice and not try to excel at the game, right? Because it can be a crutch. Don't get used to that crutch because the good players are going to continue getting better. So I'm not going to say that really good players don't get frustrated with Fargo and the amount that they have to spot sometimes, depending on the tournament director. I've seen it myself. But in the end, they're going to be stronger for it. They really are. Okay, so final takeaways for this video. 1, handicapping systems aren't going to go anywhere. So instead of having this wide range of handicapping systems across regions, Fargo has really taken over the tournament scene, and they're doing really well. And you know what? It's a really good system. So that's going to be helping to grow our game. Number 2, in conjunction with that, support your local pool halls because it's tough economic climate out there, and handicapping systems help do that. So let's support those systems. And number 3, and this is the most important one for you as an individual, for you as a player wanting to get better. As a person who is receiving a spot because of Fargo, use this as an educational experience, right? Always be learning. So you may beat a player that's higher than you, but understand what happened there, right? Did they dog, let's say it's a 9-ball tournament. Did they dog a 9-ball? Did they run out to the 9 and then they dogged the 9-ball and then you sink it? How much of a win is that? Understand where you're at with your game in conjunction with the players that can actually teach you valuable lessons. Don't be content with that crutch, because I guarantee you the unintended benefit of handicapping systems is that the top end players that are spotting, this is a way for them to get better. This is an exercise. This is like adding weight when you're doing exercise, right? This is harder for them. So if they start winning with a handicapping system, it's all the better for them they're just getting better. So you need to keep pace. You can't be satisfied with a crutch, with the handicapping system. But with all that being said, pool handicapping is here to stay, and it's good for the game. So that's everything that I have for you. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button and the bell notification for future videos, because lots of videos coming out this year. So, and again, if you haven't hit subscribe, please do. That means a lot. In the meantime and in between time, I'll catch you on the flip side.